Loses one stitch for the landlord thinking she was a prostitute. Onward, Daniel. Elizabeth, what?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Podcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And I'm Spencer Williams. Elizabeth, so good to see you.
So good to see you too. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. How was your trip to New Orleans? You have that birthday glow.
Thank you. I am 30, flirty, and thriving now. It was so much fun.
Good.
You know when like people like have the place they vacation? Like, oh, I don't know where to go this year. We'll just go to that. We'll just go back there. Like, whatever. I could see New Orleans being that place.
Yeah.
Like the first time we went, it was so quick.
Well, for you.
Yeah, it was quick. It was quick for me.
Yeah.
I did not stay as long as the rest of you. Like, I didn't really get to know the city, but I did this time. And it was just like, it was just like a nice, chill, like light, like fun place to be.
Yeah.
Like without trying. It's like you just walk around and you're entertained.
It's a beautiful place. I really love it there. I mean, I'm so just fascinated by the history, the architecture, the drinking, the cemeteries. I mean, it's quite the trip. I would love to go back. Hopefully next year. If you do make this a regular vacation spot, then count me in. Though I've never felt rested after a vacation in New Orleans.
I did. Honestly, I did. But I also spent almost a week there. Went up maybe like a little too hard on my birthday.
That's fine.
And my sister took us to Frenchman Street to see this brass band. They were very fun and they sang happy birthday to me. So that was that was fun. That. My sister was like, I have great videos of you. And I'm like, can I see these videos? She's yet to send them to me. So I'm suspicious.
Elizabeth's sister, theartofcostume@gmail.com. You know where to drop those videos.
So it's not like my family haven't sent you things before.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, listen to me. That's great. I'm glad you had a good time. You deserve it. I missed you. It's been a long time.
I know. How have things been over in California land?
Well, we're wrapping up Emmy's season here. Voting has concluded at this point, which I am thrilled about because this year was a doozy. It was a lot of work, but always, I'm just very appreciative of everyone who wanted to share their stories with us on the Art of Costume. And to that point, I would like to officially say on the podcast that we have released a brand new video podcast series. It is now live and in the world. It's called Costume Talk. And the first episode is out. I would love you all to go check it out on YouTube where you could actually see it. It is a new series where we have costume designers have conversations with each other. It's incredibly inspiring. You get to learn so much about their creative processes by asking each other questions. It's a lot of fun. Our first episode was featuring Carlos Rosario from Shogun and Christine Wada from Loki. And I couldn't be more proud and happy with it. We didn't have a lot of time to get it together.
No, I remember I'm so excited for this. I'm so proud that you got this together because I remember one week you were like, hey, I think we should do this thing. And then last week you and Daniel were like, it's done. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, we have to give a huge shout out to our incredible audio engineer and editor, Dan White, who just worked away through the week every night on getting this first pilot episode out into the world, and it's done very well. People seem to love it. So Daniel, thank you so much for doing that. Everyone go check it out. I'm really happy with it, and I'm excited for future episodes of that podcast. So make sure you tell us who you would like to see on Costume Talk. Which costume designers do you like to pair together? That's kind of my fun aspect of it to me, is just like fantasizing about all these imaginary conversations who I'd like to see talk. Because you really do learn a lot between conversations of industry professionals, and
Yeah.
I would love to have on supervisors and illustrators, assistant costume designers, costumers, shoppers, buyers, maybe some actors, directors, production designers,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So, lots of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities. Do you know where else there's lots of possibilities, Spencer? Rome. Everybody, this week, despite what we previously said, we watched Roman Holiday.
Yeah. That's so true. I totally didn't think about that. So we said we were going to do Funny Face, but we had a change of mind. And
yes.
It's our podcast. We do whatever we want.
Yeah.
No, so we're capping off Hot Girl Summer, and I don't know, we just had a change of heart. We were kind of indecisive, and I think now that I've seen it, I think this is a great finale to Hot Girl Summer.
I agree. It's Audrey Hepburn's first film ever, and it is one of the amazing works of Edith Head. So I think it was this is a good introductory to Edith Head on our podcast, I think.
It's insane that we've actually never talked about Edith Head on this podcast. It feels, well, I should say, like, I always say that my big blind spot is like classic Hollywood movies.
I don't think we've done a film before the 1970s before now.
Yeah, I probably Star Wars is as far as it goes back, honestly.
Yeah. I think that's probably safe. And
that is like, that rings true in like my actual everyday life. I just feel like I don't watch classic Hollywood movies so much, but I've obviously heard so much about Roman Holiday, and it was really good, Elizabeth. And I don't like rom-coms. We know that. I've said that a lot on this podcast, but I don't know, something about like this classic romance story. It's just done in such a classy way. Like everything about this period is just so much classier. It's not, I was in it. I was totally like, I was blown away.
I agree. And it was definitely not what I was expecting. But before we get too far into it, Spencer, do you want to give us a little summary?
I shall. Overwhelmed by her suffocating schedule, touring European Princess Anne takes off for a night while in Rome. When a sedative she took from her doctor kicks in, she falls asleep on a park bench and is found by an American reporter, Joe Bradley, who takes her back to his apartment for safety, obviously. At work the next morning, Joe finds out Anne's regal identity and bets his editor he can get exclusive interview with her, but romance soon gets in the way, and that is Roman Holiday.
That is Roman Holiday. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was like the scene where she's given the sedative. I'm like, wow, people just really did whatever their doctor said at one point in time.
Totally. You just find yourself in the streets muttering, I'm happy, I'm happy,
yeah.
I'm happy for like a long time. Whoa.
Yeah. That... Man, I'll take that. Someone put me to sleep. But also, don't just show up in my room after I'm just having a very understandable breakdown and be like, yeah, we'll just sedate you.
Yeah, that was a real breakdown. But before you dive too deep, maybe you should break down the costumes.
Absolutely. Let's go behind the costumes with director William Wyler and costume designer Edith Head. And if you are into costumes, chances are you have heard of Edith Head before. Her career was wild, and it is just crazy what she got to do and how she was really like a celebrity costume designer of her time. She was remarkable.
She laid down the groundwork.
She did. She really did. So here's just a quick biography of Edith Head. Her 58-year career began in 1923 when she was a French and art teacher chaperoning a field trip to the Players Lasky studio, which later became Paramount. There, she decided to become a studio sketch artist to make money during her summers off. However, her work caught the eye of costume designer Howard Greer, who mentored her along with costume designer Travis Banton. When Banton was made chief designer at Paramount, Edith was made his assistant. In 1938, she became the chief costume designer at Paramount. However, she did not receive a raise.
Of course.
Why would you?
The deep-rooted issues start here.
Right. And then in 1967, she went to Universal Studios, where she lived and worked until her death in 1981. Her last film, which she completed 2 weeks before her death, was Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, starring Steve Martin, who's quoted in her autobiography saying, "I loved the clothes so much that I bought some of her wonderful linen suits for my personal wardrobe. When people ask about them, I say, it's an Edith Head."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Which I think that's just like such a sweet way to like talk about someone's work and career. Because like he's giving her credit as an artist, not just a costume designer, an actual artist. Because you say like, oh, it's a Monet. It's an Edith Head. That's what he had on.
Yeah.
And when it comes to her notable work, there's just too much. So I'm just going to tell you her 8 wins of her 35 Oscar nominations, and then a couple of her notable Oscar nominations.
35 nominations?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
And in 1950, she won her first Oscar for Best Costume Design for a black and white film for The Heiress.
This was before the categories were split. I mean, before they're combined, there was a black and white category and a colored category.
Now we break them down by, period and type of film they're in, not whether or not they're in color. Right. In 1951, Edith Head won 2 Oscars. One, she won Best Costume Design for a color film for Samson and Delilah. And then she also won Best Costume Design for a black and white film for All About Eve. And all except her very last win, they're all for black and white films. So in 1952, she won for A Place in the Sun. In 1955, she won for Sabrina. In 1961, she won for The Facts of Life. And in 1974, she won for The Sting. And that was just a general best costume design. Mm-hmm. So I think by this point, there was no more black and white and color categories. Right. Some of her other notable nominations are To Catch a Thief in 1965, The 10 Commandments in 1957, and Funny Face in 1958. Wow. All of our facts today are going to come from Edith Head's autobiography, Edith Head's Hollywood, which I have started reading, but it is long. I mean, there are a lot of pictures, but it's still pretty long. It was completed and co-written by Patty Calastro with a foreword by Betty Davis.
Wow. Okay, I gotta get me this book.
I started reading it. It's really interesting. It really just makes how people operated in that time in the studio system kind of makes sense. And then also where a lot of just even like our fashion obsession around body image, it makes a lot where all of that came from. It makes it make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Just because how she talked about, her job and like the actors and actresses she worked with is, I think, very different from how anyone would talk now. So it's really interesting. And she goes, it's Patty Calastro is interviewing her through the book. So it's just like paragraph after paragraph of her like reminiscences. So it's really interesting. And in her autobiography, she talks about meeting Audrey Hepburn for the first time because Roman Holiday was Audrey's very first film. So she was excited to meet her, and she said, "I was completely enchanted by her. She was intelligent, and she had a strong sense about fashion. I knew she would be the perfect mannequin for anything I would make. When clothes are designed for art's sake, you need a shapeless body to display them. I knew it would be a great temptation to design clothes that would overpower her, the actress. I could have used her to show off my talents and detract from hers, but I didn't. I considered doing it, believe me." I'm like, that's wild to be like, should I just show off? This is the perfect person for me to show off. No, I won't.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, Audrey Hepburn could wear anything and make it look incredible.
Yes.
And this film is great proof to it. I mean, just even when she's like in bed wearing her like PJs or like just like a random shirt that she took from Joe Bradley, it's like she wakes up and you're like, good Lord.
Oh,
like,
she looks incredible. Yeah.
I mean, granted, she's wearing like a full face of makeup in the morning, but that's neither here nor there.
That's Hollywood. But Spencer, I have a little show and tell for you. Do you want to watch a short interview with Edith Head?
I would absolutely love to. This is very exciting.
Yes, this is a quick little interview. It was after she had been nominated. And hopefully, I don't know if we can put the audio in, but if not, we will put the link in the bio for this show.
It's a very lovely and charming gown for a lovely and charming princess that we're about to meet. Anna Mae Wilson looks at us over WNHC-TV in New Haven, asked for it. She writes, "I constantly marvel at the way motion pictures can completely transform an actress's appearance on the screen through a selection of wardrobe. Is it possible to have a studio designer explain that?" Well, Anna Mae, yes. One of those amazing transformations for which Hollywood is famous was recently completed for this delightful little actress, Audrey Hepburn, who achieved stardom overnight due to her starring role in Paramount's Roman Holiday. Now, it all started right here in the office of Edith Head. She is a costume designer for Paramount. And Miss Head is out of my class here to ask about ladies' wardrobes or know anything about it, but you, being a 4-time Academy Award winner, can kind of set us straight, huh?
Well, I'll try, Mr. Baker.
Well, the question is here, how do you go about changing actresses' appearances just to wardrobe?
Well, the first thing I do is to get acquainted with the actress, actually study her. Now, in the case of Audrey Hepburn, she was in Europe at that time on stage. So it was necessary for us to film what we call a personality test. In other words, we wanted to see how she could move, how she could walk, and generally how she looked on the screen. Would you like to see the results?
Yes, indeed, we would.
Now, this is an actual test. This was made in England, flown to me here in Hollywood. It was my first acquaintance with Audrey Hepburn, and as you'll see, it's pretty successful.
All right, now wander down here without your hands in your pockets and settle down in that chair and we'll make a nice close-up of you. But did you entertain the people there yourself? Is that how you began?
No, not quite how I began. I went to ballet school once I knew I was settled there for quite a while. Didn't know how long the war was going to last, so I went to ballet school and learned to dance. And in about 1944, about a year before the end of the war, I was quite capable of performing.
What a delightful girl she is. And that personality has so much better than still pictures. They're like meeting her face to face.
Of course they are. And you know, it was from that test that I was able to design these costumes. Then, after making these costumes, I flew to New York. I actually met Miss Hepburn and made this wardrobe test. this is the first time that you see Miss Hepburn on the screen in a testing in the costume for a Roman holiday. You see, she is supposed to be a princess disguised as an ordinary girl on the streets of Rome. So we made her a simple costume so she wouldn't look different. And you know why she's rolling up her sleeves and all of these things? It's because in the picture she had to look casual, informal, and we felt due to the heat of Roman summer, a girl would really do this sort of thing. Now, watch and see what she does now, because this is what we call demonstrating through a test what is going to happen in a picture. It helps the director and it helps an actress. You see, she's whirling around because in the picture she has to ride a motorcycle. See, it proves it.
Oh, her pretty hair was cut off in the picture.
Yes, that's part of the story, too. Now, this is a transformation as the princess. You see, we don't do any tricks or give her a crown, but we give her a regal dress, a simple dress of real lace. In other words, the type dress that a real princess would wear under similar circumstances in a similar locale. This is what we call transformation through wardrobe.
Real regal. That's real lace, too.
It really is lace, and the princess could have worn this dress. And Audrey wears this dress in the picture.
It accomplishes that regal feeling there.
Yes, now here is an even more regal costume. This is one of the princess's ball gowns for the opening of the film. We had two costumes from which to choose, and we took this one of silver brocade because it was a little more photographic, a little gayer. Now you notice what she's going to do now. She is turning around in the picture because the producer, William Wyler, said it's too long, she can't possibly dance. Now Audrey, who is an accomplished dancer, says, just watch me, and that is why she did it in the test. And she wears it in the picture. Does that answer your request, Mr.
Oh,
Baker?
so much more delightful than we expected, indeed. Well, Roman Holiday, your work in that, you must be congratulated. I kind of see another Academy Award coming.
Well, I'm more certain that the picture itself will win an Academy Award because Mr. Wyler's direction was marvelous.
He always has good ones there. Everyone's talking about this Audrey Hepburn. I can see why, too. And, of course, you had Gregory Peck and Eddie Albert. They're outstanding. I must say that having seen the picture, this one of the recent ones that I look at people and say, Roman Holiday, you've got to see. Thank you very much indeed for answering this request.
It's been a great pleasure, Mr. Baker.
Wow, that
Isn't
was
that cool?
So cool. That was a great video. That was courtesy of the Academy of Motion Pictures, and that was such a great. I mean, I feel like we could end the episode now,
Right?
I literally got the hair was standing up on my arm from hearing and seeing Edith Head talk about these costumes and walking through the screen test. That was one of my favorite moments on this podcast in a hot minute, honestly.
I saw this and I was like, I have to show Spencer. I almost sent it to you and then I was like, no, I'll just put it in the slides.
No, that was fun. Thank you. That was a great surprise. I really enjoyed that. That was, just hearing the way she talks about it, and like, it was like we were watching like the first ever like Hollywood fitting or something, like just the way she was like having Audrey Hepburn dance on camera. But then like my favorite part was when she was taking off. No, she's rolling up her sleeves and spinning her skirt around, putting on like the wrap around her neck. It was it was really incredible. That was so cool.
Yeah, getting to watch her like play in the costumes before they're like official like on screen is so cool. That
was a treat for sure.
And after that, we got to take a little break.
Yeah. Let's reset. I need to go gas up my moped and get ready to speed around the streets of Rome.
Yes.
Hi, this is Dan, audio engineer of the podcast, here to let you know that if you wanted to support the show, you can head over to theartofcostume.com/podstore. There you can buy some awesome TeePublic merch with the podcast logo, such as a shirt, coffee mug, stickers, and of course, a baby onesie. Thanks for all your support.
I am so excited to talk about Roman Holiday. I really enjoy this movie, and there's a lot of great costumes in it. So I think we should start with the beginning, when we really get to see the princess in her real royal glamour. And
yes.
I already knew as soon as we saw this, I was like, all right, I see why Elizabeth picked this one. That's going to be a good one.
It is a great one. And it's so fun to, after watching like her screen test in this, to actually see it in the movie, and like just how much costume plays a role in this when she's like lost her shoe.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I knew that was gonna happen. I was like, stop messing around with it, girl, you're gonna lose it.
Right? I was like, you're a princess, you should know better. You don't take your shoes off till you're at home, like sitting on your bed in your PJs, then you take your heels off.
Yeah.
But Edith said about this costume, first time she appears on screen, she is regally dressed in a brocade gown with correct jewels, correct orders, even correct gloves. She is the epitome of royal protocol. Everything about her is flawless. In true Hollywood form, she hates her state of affairs and wants to be free.
Yeah. Which is so clear. You could tell that she's just like bugging to get out of here. That's why she's like,
yes,
like twirling around with her shoes, and you could just tell she's uncomfortable and really wants to go. And it did feel like very like, oh, this is correct regal form. Like she probably, this is like her uniform.
It is so correct. She can't even just like reach over and grab her shoe real quick. They have to like make a whole like distraction so nobody notices her shoe fell off.
Right. It was such a beautiful dress. And I loved, every little piece of it. The jewelry, the tiara she's wearing, the sash. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the little bows on it because she's, the princess. So she's still kind of cutesy. So it has a little bit of flair to it.
Oh, I think those are her orders.
Oh.
Her different royal stations.
Right. Whatever. It's still cute.
It is still cute. Cute placement.
But in the video that Elizabeth played earlier, Edith Head said essentially that there was this white gown that makes it into the film, or there was this like darker, which it looked like it could have been a black gown. Yeah. And I'm so glad that she went with this white gown, because not only did it just came off better on picture with this being a black and white film. You really got to see the details, unlike that black dress where it really kind of blended together.
That first one looks like maybe some sort of velvet. This one, she says it's silver though, which I'm like, I think that's how they get like the variation of gray tone in it, which I think is really interesting. Especially because like people have like gone on and like recolored like this dress like in still photos, and it's like no one actually makes it silver, which I think that just shows how you kind of like your imagination can just kind of like go wild with the black and white film, which I don't watch a lot of black and white films. I honestly couldn't tell you the last one I watched, but it's like you're just kind of like imagining what you think would be best. And I'm like, she looks like a Disney princess in this to me. So I'm like, oh, like pretty white gown, just dancing around. Okay.
Oh, Audrey Hepburn is gorgeous in this. It's so like gorgeous. Shocking. It's so gorgeous.
So gorgeous. But it is also super funny how she has this like weird obsession with sleepwear.
Oh yeah.
In the movie. And, like, honestly, if I had to wear that kind of nightgown every night, I might, too.
Yeah. This is her way of going home and changing into stretchy pants, essentially, which is what I do. Like, she has a full-on nightgown, still kind of like a full face of makeup. They try to make it a little bit more soft, but still, she just... Yeah, honestly, I could see you wearing these little nightgowns.
Honestly, yeah. If people made nice nightgowns, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's so cute. But yeah, that scene where they're like harassing her when she's in bed, like just leave this girl alone. It just makes me crazy. I don't know. Just royal treatment. It's been going back forever.
It's so crazy. And the way that she's like, because she's clearly, she's like in her late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
And she just has a little bit of a meltdown. Like, no big deal. We all do it after a long work day.
It's a pretty wild meltdown, though.
But she's been on like a several week work trip.
Oh, yeah.
Where like 24/7, her life is just work. Like, you would have a pretty epic meltdown.
And they straight up
towards the end of that.
Sedate her. They were ready to put her down, which is like crazy. I'm like, or how about like some melatonin or like
right?
maybe a bedtime story?
I also love how he was like, this is a new drug, completely safe. And she just wanders the fuck off.
Yeah, she totally sneaks out and sleeps at a random stranger man's house.
Yes.
I want whatever she's having.
Yeah. I also love how like he gave her pajamas, which is totally like such a like plot device for her to have the pajamas she wants to sleep in. Because I was like, I'm sorry, like if I brought in some random girl off the street to sleep in my home, I would not offer her any clothing. Well,
Elizabeth, this is all a setup because that is the first real ploy into a very different sort of evening.
True.
Which this man is setting up. He even says it toward the end. He says something like, "Oh, I'm wearing your clothes" or whatever, and he said like, "Oh, you look good in my clothes," or you should always wear my clothes," is what he says. And I was like, all right,
in that last scene, absolutely.
But it's just one big long ploy to get her in his clothes. So it's a setup.
Doesn't work out for him in the end, but
I'm holding my tongue. We'll talk about that. It's some bullshit. But yeah. PJ game on fleek, Edith Head. You killed it.
Yes. Especially with the two robes she wears at the end. Like his robe, which I was like, ooh, that's a nice robe. I want that robe.
Yeah.
Then I couldn't get a picture of it. But the robe she wears when she's telling off all her handlers, when she's like, go. No.
Yeah.
I'm in charge now. It's like
She's
a
pissed.
black velvet with like a bishop sleeve. And I'm like, yes, girl.
Yeah. She got her power back.
But we have some other characters. Even though it feels like Audrey Hepburn's Princess Anne is the only character in this, there are some other ones.
I don't know. So we're talking about Eddie Albert as Irving and Gregory Peck as Joe Bradley.
Yes.
I thought Gregory Peck was so wonderful in this film. Elizabeth and I started to talk about this behind the scenes. She's using words like fine or he was okay. I thought he was great. I'm obsessed with Oscars and the Oscars history. So look back, Audrey Hepburn not only was nominated, but I believe she won for this role.
She did.
Eddie Albert, who was the weird best friend / photographer, he was nominated for this role.
He was fun.
Nothing for Gregory Peck. That just kind of boggles my mind. But it was nominated in literally every other category, including Best Picture.
He's a leading man. He plays a leading man.
I thought he was so charming.
Like, he was. A lot of the leading men back then were.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know.
Who was he? Who else was nominated that year? Maybe that would explain it.
Well, I do know one of them's Marlon Brando. I don't know who won, though. But still, it's Gregory Peck. I mean, he's such a big name, but whatever.
He was good. He was fine.
I thought his costumes are spectacular. I thought he always looked...
he always looked good.
He always looked good, always looked sophisticated. He also looked American to me because he's the American journalist. Which I thought was, they... Obviously, we know that, Rome, known for like incredible style. I think I would be stressed out just getting dressed up to travel over to Rome at this point. And so you could really tell the difference between all the background characters and then Joe Bradley. He just, not that he's not stylish, but you could just tell there's
American.
He's American.
He's got his suit and tie.
Yeah. So I thought all of his costumes are just quite sophisticated. Always wearing a suit, always like looking put together. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah. I really liked Irving's costume because it's just like such like 1950s quintessential like artist who's kind of on the fringe but still has to make money. So like he takes photos for the press, but then he takes his like fun, clearly like sexy pictures in his home. yeah. He has like a little bit of a flair to him too. Like I feel like his pants are kind of like a little bit higher. His sleeves are a bit more rolled up. Like this is a guy who's... He wears a t-shirt the whole time.
Yeah, he almost like it's not fitting in the sense that like he moves around taking photos and he goes on to the next assignment. So
he has more of like that like beatnik look of the time than like a professional. Who is also not looking very professional. Princess Anne has a transformation.
Oh, I loved it.
It is so good. And Edith talks about it in her autobiography saying, to create the contrast, I put her in funny little flat shoes, a gathered cotton skirt, and a plain blouse with the sleeves rolled up. Her regal crown of hair chopped off. Suddenly, she is the kind of girl you wouldn't look at twice. It sounds easy to do, but it wasn't. Trying to make someone like Audrey Hepburn look anything but chic is very difficult.
Which all respect to Edith Head, I'm like not sure if we achieved that because she still looks incredible.
I'm like, this is the most not chic you can get, and I think in a Hollywood film.
Yeah, I guess. That's a reach, but okay.
It's a reach. And she talks about it a little bit more with what she did with the costume, saying, I had to adjust the length of the skirt, for instance, making it too long so that she looked somewhat dowdy. I used fabric that was limp to create the impression that she didn't care what she wore.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, if this is someone not caring what they wore, could we get back to this?
God, I know. Seriously, I would not do well, I guess.
As much as I like my yoga pants and my t-shirts, like, I wish this was casual wear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's get into this costume. It's beautiful. She has the sleeves rolled up, which is her way of trying to be like, oh, I'm an everyday girl just walking around Rome. My sleeves are rolled up, getting to work.
Yeah, Rome is hot. And it's like, it's this long, it's very, starts out, she looks kind of like schoolgirlish, like all buttoned up. And then she's like, I'm hot. Let me like roll this up, open up the neckline.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like out to have her fun day.
But with the flowy skirt though, and I love the tie around the neck. That just to me just like makes her, it kind of gives her like a sense of adventure, which really what Roman Holiday is. It's like an adventure story actually of her exploring the city, riding mopeds, dancing, getting into fights, smoking a cigarette, which was like the big, like, ooh, we're smoking her first cigarette. Ooh. It's just like she feels like an adventurer, and I love that.
And it's like it's her first day of real freedom, and she's taking it for all that she can. Yeah,
it's really, really cool. Let's head over to our royal court.
Yes, to our final look, because while this has a bunch of good, like every look in this hits, but there aren't many of them.
No.
This is the shortest episode we've had in a while. Her courtly look, and of the whole film, Edith Head has this really good quote from her autobiography saying, "The costuming was very important in this film. It told the story. First, she was a fairy tale princess. Then she became a sporty, wild, happy, very real person who had no regard for her appearance." And I feel like this last look kind of like combines those two. Because like, yes, it is very regal. It is beautiful. And like in the short video from before when she says like, oh, this is a look you would see on any princess like of our time. It's like, yeah, I could totally see like Princess Margaret having worn something like this.
Yeah.
At the time. But it's like, unlike before, she's got the open neckline. She's got her sleeves only come down to her elbows. And like the hat completely complements her new look.
Yeah.
Like she is like owning who she is in this moment. And it is perfect.
Yeah, it's a really cool costume. I love the floral lace of it all. I just think it's
beautiful.
Beautiful, very stunning. Just you could tell that this was just like so rich and expensive, and it just like really just talks to like the quality of this era and Edith Head. Like they don't make them like these anymore.
Yeah.
But I love the hat that she's wearing. Is this considered a hat? I've never seen this before. To me, it actually feels a little science fiction. Like it looks so cool and edgy, which kind of like gets to your point of like is blending together these worlds of like very regal, but also like very kind of wild and sporty. So this hat to me feels a little bit like that's what blends the two worlds together.
I think it would be considered a hat. And like the 1950s and 60s, they were like going hard with the hats. They like had all sorts of crazy things going on.
Yeah.
But I guess it could also be considered a fascinator. It just seems a little bit big for that. Yeah, that's the piece of this look that makes it so beautiful. Also, you were talking about like how like expensive and like beautifully made it looks. This is probably not long after the rationing on silks and other like expensive fabrics was lifted from World War II. And they were talking about it a little bit what I was reading in her autobiography. Like that was one of the ways she made a name for herself, was using these materials that had been rationed for years and years and years because of World War II, using them to their fullest extent, however she could imagine.
Well, I mean, it's a great finale costume. And since we're at the finale, I just have to say, what the fuck? I can't believe they did not get together in the end, and he just has to go about his life like he did just have like 2 incredible days with with the princess. It just, I was like, my mind was blown. I cannot believe that it didn't end in like this fairy tale romance.
I could, and I think the ending is part of what made it so good. Because that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, it's believable.
He could not marry, because they, at the beginning, in that cool little like Paramount News reel they do at the beginning, they mention that she is not just the princess, but she is the heir to the throne of her country.
Mm-hmm.
So she, 1950, she could not marry whoever she wanted. It would have had to been approved by her dad.
Oh,
and her dad's not approving of a American. Which we all know how
this story played out in real life. If you want to like look at the tragedy of Princess Margaret and who she ended up, wanting to marry and whatnot.
Yeah.
So no, I got it. It just, I was like, hey, this is not what I signed up for.
It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
And Edith Head got her 5th Oscar for this film.
Ooh.
I have the 1954 Oscars footage here if you would like to watch it. I will say, though, they didn't give the designers any time to give speeches.
Oh, okay.
But the way they present them is really, really fun. Do you want to watch?
I do. I'll take what I could get.
All right.
Those nominated for achievement in costume design of black and white production are the actress Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Miss Phyllis Applegate is wearing one of the costumes designed by Walter Plunkett. Dream Wife, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Helen Rose and Herschel McCoy. Marjorie Millar is modeling one of the gowns. From Here to Eternity, Columbia, Jean-Louis. The model is Kim Novak. The President's Lady, 20th Century Fox, Charles Lemaire and Renee. The model is Gloria Gordon. Roman Holiday, Paramount, Edith Head. The model is Marla English. And now, for achievement in costume design for a production in black and white, Edith Head for Roman Holiday.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful.
That was so fun.
That was fun. Isn't that so funny? Just here's your Oscar, go now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had more time when I got like my high school diploma. I got to stand there and wave at everyone, and everyone applauded. You know, yeah, that was so much fun. She looks so good accepting her award. I'll put in air quotes. But,
yeah,
you know.
Just being handed an Oscar and told to go.
Yeah, beat it, costume designer. That still rings true today, sadly. Yeah. But anyways, Roman Holiday. What a great film, Elizabeth. I'm so glad we watched this. I'm so glad we finally got into our first classic Hollywood black and white film.
Me too.
Honestly, I want to do more. I think next season we gotta get into some more.
We'll do some more. Don't worry. We'll do some more.
Okay. All right. Promise.
I promise.
With that, Elizabeth, should we get into ye old Stitch rating?
I think we should, Spencer. How many stitches do you give Roman Holiday?
Honestly, it's just a 5-stitch movie. I don't know where are the flaws. I can't think of any. It was just beautiful. I feel like you're gonna give it less because you weren't crazy about Gregory Peck, but I don't know. I thought it was all good fun. Okay, now I'm playing some scenes back though. Maybe I'll give it a 4.
I agree. I think it's like a 4-stitch.
Yeah.
Very fun. Very fun. I would love for this to be remade today and to be like a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
In color. I'm like, that would be incredible. But for the time, it was pretty good. It's a 4-stitch. Some of it's a little weird, but I'm like, okay. I don't know what people found funny in the 1950s.
No, I thought it was funny. I just think that they were setting up the storyline of like, oh, he's the journalist and, you know, he's going to sell her story or whatever, and she can't find out. And that never came into fruition,
yeah.
Which is fine because I was like, oh, this is going to break your heart. Woo. Yeah. But it never happened.
I know. I kept expecting him to have like a pocket recorder and him to be asking her questions.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I guess they didn't have that back then. I'm like, when did that technology become useful?
Fair. He left his iPhone at home.
Yeah. I thought he would be also making like a lot more notes. But also, I got a little confused at the beginning because like she wakes up and he's like, Your Highness.
Yeah.
And it's like, he clearly knows who she is. And then was she trying to act like that wasn't her and he just went along with it?
No. Wait, no.
Because I thought she understood that he knew who she was. And then she was like, oh, I ran away from school.
No, well, she never explicitly says it. And then, but she's like kind of like muttering in her sleep because she clearly is a terrorized sleeper. That's established very easily, very early in this film. So she's kind of muttering about it, and then suddenly she wakes up and he's just kind of like, what? But when she wakes up that second time when she's muttering, he already went and saw pictures of her at the office. So he knows, but she doesn't know that he knows.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was a little confused by that. But I loved when she was in her black robe and he was like, you're on duty, Jen. She's like, how dare you speak to me about duty? She was like, there's a very good, like, she just impresses on them like, I almost did not come back.
That reminds me too. I want to bring up the point that her royal team or whatever stuck at their jobs, bro. I mean, she was missing for days.
Yes,
How do you lose a princess like that? Well, because she had her sleeves rolled up, we couldn't identify the princess.
I do understand how she got out of like the embassy. I understand that. How did like someone not notice who she was before she fell asleep?
Oh, I thought
like,
she was
clearly...
caught when that guy was like on the balcony just watching her talk to Joe Bradley, which, by the way, 2 first names, might I add. Yeah. But that guy was just watching him talk, and I thought he was putting it together, but I guess he was just a weirdo who was just watching them. Just intently eyeballing them.
The owner of his apartment building?
Yeah.
No, because that's when he's handing her the money.
Right.
And he knows she was in his apartment. I think he thought he was paying her for services rendered.
That's silly.
Yeah, it's silly, but like back then, if that's what had happened.
Services rendered. Oh gosh. Well, look at us argue about a 60-year-old plus movie.
Well over 60 years old.
Yeah. I don't know how to count. With that, before I get into trouble with more math, Daniel, maybe we should play our favorite game. Second favorite game. Both our other favorite game. Hit it, Daniel.
Our only favorite game.
I like the Stitch one too. That one's a favorite.
That's not a game.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't call that a game.
It's serious. It's serious business only.
So serious about our thoughts and opinions of what may or may not happen in a film from the 1950s, Spencer. That's very serious business.
Loses 1 stitch for the landlord thinking she was a prostitute. Onward, Daniel. Elizabeth, what?
Okay.
Oh, God. Okay, Daniel, roll the tape.
The one costume to rule them all.
All right, Elizabeth, what was your one costume to rule them all?
My one costume to rule them all is her final regal look, because it combines the freedom she experienced on the streets of Rome with her royal duties as a princess. And it is just so flawless on her. It is flattering. It is beautiful. It is like Audrey Hepburn. I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. She looks stunning head to toe. Everything's right. It looks expensive. She looks like she's entered like this new stage of her life where she understands her role, but she's also not taking shit from anybody. I mean, you can see it on her face. She's here to do business. Even if it's boring, she gets through it. And you can just tell that she's not going to let the people around her step all over her. And that really speaks in the costumes.
Absolutely. Spencer, what was your one costume to rule them all?
I picked her adventure Indiana Jones type costume that she wears about the town where she's in her full incognito stage. I love that her sleeves are rolled up, and I love the tie around the neck. I love it tucked into the skirt, and the way that that skirt twirls. It's just a beautiful costume, and just everything about it is just beautiful. I love the two tones of it also. It was fun seeing this film in black and white just to see how color works on screen. It's, it's been a while, and it's nice to get that reminder of how costumes really played a role. It was just fun. I just loved her sing. It was just like a joyous movie. I often don't love rom-coms because I'm so sensitive and I take it personally. And it was just nice to see her just living her best life. I
agree. And this is a great one, Costume to Rule Them All. This is definitely this is the look you think of for Roman Holiday. Her in this on the bike. So good choice. Good choice.
Why, thank you.
And if you would like to tell us your one costume to rule them all, how many stitches you would give a film, you can let us know by leaving us a little voicemail at 626-515-1826, or you can send us an email at theartofcostume@gmail.com. Spencer, what are we watching next?
Well, Elizabeth, we have wrapped up our Hot Girl Summer series. And honestly, I just feel like Roman Holiday was so buttoned up and chic and perfect. So I could really use like a little bit of ruggedness. I need to break some shit and fight somebody and set stuff on fire and let my hair down. So next week we are going to be joined by costume designer Aaron Bennick to talk about the new film The Bike Riders of Austin Butler.
Oh my gosh, that's
and Tom
exciting.
Hardy.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a good film. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it altered something in my chemistry where I was like, this is the life I want to live. Yeah.
You would excel at that, Spencer, I'm sure.
Have you ever seen me on a motorcycle? It does not go well.
Yeah. It's kind of what I imagined.
Oh, you were being sarcastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once you're all done being snarky and laughing at me, head on over to our YouTube, youtube.com/artofcostume. Check out this new episode of Roman Holiday, and I believe we might be able to include some of those clips that we were watching, hopefully, and if not, you could listen to them. And also,
we'll definitely link them if we can't put them in.
Right. And you could also watch Costume Talk, which is on YouTube, and you could see Carlos and Christine interview each other on camera. So add some faces to this fun. Also head to Instagram, follow us at The Art of Costume Pod, on TikTok at The Art of Costume. Our merch store has been updated with a new shirt at theartofcostume.com/podstore. It's just some edits to make the logo fit a little bit better.
Yeah.
And leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts because it really does help.
It helps so much. You have no idea.
Yeah, it does. With that, Elizabeth, we are getting close to spooky season. Just one more episode and then it's spooky season.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, we have such a good spooky season theme this year. I can't wait to share it with you all.
Yeah, we're preparing. We're starting to research now, sending out the calls to action, sending out spooky,
ravens.
Yeah, or bats or whatever.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, this was a fun one. Thank you for everything you did, and I can't wait for the next one.
Me either. Everybody, we will see you next time.
The Art of Costume podcast is hosted and produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams. Our audio engineering and editing is done by Dan White. Follow us on TikTok at The Art of Costume and Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod. If you want to support the show, go to theartofcostume.com/podstore. For more podcast updates, costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, go to theartofcostume.com, a blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.
in 1976, she was
67.
Oh my gosh.
You're so close.
I should be wearing my glasses. I don't know why I'm not. There we go. That's better.